Tiff, you're telling me people make mistakes on their self-healing journey?
Yep. But let me clarify. These mistakes really just slow down the process and can discourage people from continuing. That's why I want to address them today.
Hey there, my friend. I'm Super Sid, the business shaman.
And Tiffany, too, the NLP queen.
And this is the Life Coach Launch Show. Today on the Life Coach Launch Show, we want to discuss mistakes that people might be making when they start a self-healing journey. Both Tiffany and I have been on our self-healing journeys for quite some time now, but one of the things that we've always known is that mistakes happen.
And a lot of these mistakes I personally made firsthand, and that's how I know the impact that they have. And then I've seen my clients and other people go on to make these mistakes as well. And again, we're not here to demonize mistakes. We don't catastrophize mistakes. They're part of the process. And also, if you know what possible mistakes are out there, you can learn from us and avoid them so that your healing journey happens faster and with a little bit more ease.
So let's start at the top. And at the top would be basically when we're getting started. And I remember, and I've talked about in a previous video of basically when you get started, and it can be possibly one of the most difficult steps, taking that first step, right? And then really walking into the unknown. But once somebody takes that first step, what would you say is I would say immediate danger that one might have when it comes to a mistake they might be able to make while on their self-healing journey that could throw them off course?
So when we start this journey, we go from our comfort zone, which really isn't all that comfortable for most people. So I like to call it the familiar zone. They just keep doing what's familiar. And where we actually move to is called the panic zone. This is where the discomfort comes in. This is where the anxiety or the panic or in some cases, people freak out a little bit. When I'm working with people and we're releasing emotions, people get physically ill sometimes. They feel nauseous. I've had some people have to run to the restroom to go poop, and I've had some people have to vomit. And while that's not always the case for everybody, it starts people thinking that this thing that I'm doing isn't right. If this is what I was supposed to be doing, it would be easy. That's one of the number one things I hear from people is, well, if I was supposed to be on this journey, if this is what God or the universe or whoever's bigger than us, if this is what I was meant to be doing, it would be easy. But it's not always easy, A, because you wouldn't appreciate it, and B, because you're working against all the programming from society and that you've picked up along the way. So the discomfort is part of the journey. And when you're tempted to be like, this is too hard, or this must be wrong because I feel so anxious inside, this is the time to lean in instead of backing away, because every time you back away, it becomes harder and harder to start again. It's kind of like if you and I were going on a road trip from here in Tennessee to New York, right? We would be driving for, a long time.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people do is they go, I've been driving for 2 hours and I'm not there yet. Something must be wrong. I'm going to turn around and go back home. On a road trip, you would never think that. It's going to take 12 or however many hours to get there. But on our personal healing journey, we tend to think this is uncomfortable and I'm not there yet. So therefore this must be wrong or something must be wrong with me. And therefore I'm just going to pack it up and go back home. And you go back to that familiar zone. But every time you go back to your familiar zone, it's like you're putting another layer of bricks that cages you in to where you are.
So I think one of the biggest things that you and I both had to learn, and obviously you started your healing journey before I did, but I know a big thing that I've talked about a lot of times is understanding that this is a process and understanding that there's really no end, that you're always kind of going. One of the things that I know I've walked across is people not understanding kind of the journey that they're about to walk on. I think in the modern world, it's so easy for a lot of us to get caught up in this idea of we do one good act or we have one success and magically everything we should want should be here. I think in this modern world, it becomes really easy for kind of like the get rich quick, right? You see people have success, but you don't see the work that it takes to get there. And ultimately, I think we go on a journey when we decide that we want to start self-healing. We decide that we want to start feeling better and ultimately through self-healing. So maybe talk to people a little bit about what that journey is, what the hero's journey, and ultimately kind of what they're looking to achieve at the end.
Yeah, so in the hero's journey, we start with a call to action. So there's some sort of nudge from the universe, from God, from whoever, to take that step, to start that business, to leave the relationship, to improve your health, whatever it is. most of us, we refuse the call the first time or the 10th time or the 100th time that it comes around, but it'll keep coming in different forms or even sometimes in the same form. Then we typically meet a mentor or we get some sort of magical aid. So this is like information. Maybe you're watching this video and that gives you the courage to say, you know what, I'm going on this journey. Or maybe you hire a coach. So a lot of times we can be the magical aid or we can share the information that people are going to use to go on their journey. Now what happens is, as soon as we go on the journey, there's this period of grace where everything kind of happens. You start the business and all of a sudden you're getting sales and you're getting traction. You go to the gym and the weight just starts falling off. You leave the relationship and you feel like so much happier and at peace than you have in a long time. This is a period of grace for us to kind of replenish our resources because it took a lot of courage and resilience to decide to start the journey. And that period of grace is building up these resources for what's to come. And that's the trials and tribulations. Now, this is one of the two places that most people are tempted to give up. And this is where the challenges come. All of a sudden you're having cash flow issues. All of a sudden you're on Tinder and you're dating people and you're like, why? Like, what have I done? You hit the plateau in your health journey. The trials and tribulations is where most people are like, this is so hard. If this is what I was supposed to be doing, it would be easier. But the trials and tribulations open up our resources. They unlock new levels inside of us, right? If you say that you want to become more patient or you want to develop more confidence, you're not going to get patience dust or, confidence liquid delivered to your front door from Amazon.
Confidence liquid?
Yeah.
Patience dust?
Yeah, you're not going to get it delivered to your front door by Amazon. We're going to be put in positions where we have to be more patient or we have to be confident and take action. And so that's what the trials and tribulations is about. It's giving us lessons, giving us resources that we need to go on this journey. Now, during that time, it helps to have somebody of unconditional love. And that's another role that a coach plays in the journey, is the person to believe in you when you fail to believe in yourself. Now, at the end of the trials and tribulations is the second point where most people give up. And this is the point of temptation, where your job calls you and they say, we'll double your salary, just come back. The ex swings back around and says, hey, I'll change. I promise I'll never do it again. Or you go to a party and the alcohol or the food or whatever it is there and you're like, well, I could just have a cheat day, right? Most people will give in to temptation because what comes after temptation is a point called death and rebirth. And this is where who we were in our past has to die for us to become who we're meant to be. Our old limiting beliefs, our old identities, our old habits and patterns, all of those have to die for us to become who we're meant to be. And for most people, the known devil is less scary than the unknown. But what waits for you on the other side of the death and rebirth is the ultimate win. Everything you've ever wanted in that area. This is where you truly achieve the goal and you have the success that you've been looking for. So I always remind myself and my clients, am I at the point of temptation right now? What lies on the other side? This is the time to lean in and push through instead of shrinking back.
So we talked about, basically probably one of the top reasons people stop. And we've also talked about kind of the full journey. What would you say if someone's on their self-healing journey, whether they're just getting started or they've been going for a while and they just, for whatever reason, hit a rut? What would you say are maybe some tools that people could take with them that could help them get refocused back on their self-healing journey and be able to start walking back into the reality that they really are hoping to have gotten by starting a self-healing journey?
Yeah, so that's actually leading into the second of the 3 mistakes that I want to talk about. So it's almost like we planned that, which we didn't. But mistake number 2, and when you get into these ruts, you need rest. We live in a society that promotes the hustle and grind, that's like go, go, go. And people will seem to think that you're going to go into this self-development journey and you're just going to come out the other end and you're never going to have to touch it again. But rest is part of the journey. And the more trauma, emotional baggage that you've held on to, the deeper in stress addiction and survival mode you were, the more rest you're going to need. And so the number one thing that you can do when you're in this rut is rest. Allow yourself to take a step back, rest, refocus on where it is that you're going, and that's going to rejuvenate you to keep going.
And I know, there's this third one I know you want to talk about. You're biting on your tongue to talk about this. This is something that I know you talk about a lot at our events, and you talk a lot about with our customers and people at the Life Coach Launch School. and some of our high level programs like Empower You, etc. So how about you let everybody know here on our channel the big thing that you want to reveal in regards to your self-healing when you get stuck, but ultimately the big mistake that a lot of people make through the over 1,000 people that you've came across you in regards to healing them.
So the biggest mistake that people make is they try to do it all alone. And this is what I did. When I first started my healing journey, I barely had 2 pennies to rub together. I didn't have a whole lot of extra money to be spending on these courses and these programs. And so my healing journey took me a lot longer because I bought the books and I was looking for the free coaching courses or programs or coaches to do free sessions with. But here's the thing. I bought the books and then I just never read them. There was always a reason, oh, I'll start tomorrow. Oh, I'll do this the next day. I would get on these calls with the coach and they would give me homework to do, but I wasn't fully invested. And even I have given away so many scholarships and free calls and even just freebies over the last 10 years to people. And I have people who have, to my highest level programs, they won scholarships years ago and they haven't attended a single program because they're not invested in it. Now, I'm not saying you have to spend a ton of money, but you have to stretch yourself for where you are at financially right now. So if $100 stretches you, but you can make it happen, then figure out how to make it happen, because what it's going to do is it's going to make you show up and do the work. And when you stretch yourself that little bit, then the next time you can stretch yourself a little bit further and a little bit further. But you cannot do this alone. Yes, you can absolutely get started, but even like with our 7-day nervous system reset, I'll check in with people. And more than 50% of the people that I check in with haven't even opened it. Or they're like, I'm the first day.
Because the people who do finish it, and they finish it, all they do is follow the program. Like, they don't do anything special. They just, 7 days, day 1, day 2, day 3, 15 minutes or less, each one. It's doing them, it's getting into a habit, it's getting into the consistency and the discipline, which, I mean, that's the key right there to everything. And, they simply do that for 7 days, 7 days of discipline, a total of maybe 2 hours, maybe. And all of a sudden, they're, taking that big first step to getting started on that healing journey, and their life's completely different. So I find it, interesting because, there's 50% of people that don't get started. And I find that interesting because it's clear as day, the ones who do get started get really, a lot of them get what they want.
Yeah, and even, we'll open up so many free calls once a month for people to do a free mini hypnosis session with me to see what it's like. And I'll send out 50 links and 10 people will book. But they're in my DMs talking about how much anxiety they have or how this problem is just overwhelming them so much. But because they don't have to pay for the program, they don't show up. Like I said, when I started, I didn't have a ton of extra money. But I found things around the house, clothes and whatnot that I didn't use or I didn't need anymore, and I sold them on Facebook Marketplace. I looked for side hustles. I leveraged credit cards and other things to get started.
I had a garage sale at my mom's house.
Yeah, like I have never regretted doing any of those things because of the path that it has put me on.
Yeah.
So again, you don't have to start out with thousands of dollars if that's just not accessible to you, but figure out a program that's going to stretch you a little bit and get started, because that means you're actually going to show up.
And like what we talked about in our, in our manifestation, a couple of our manifestation videos that you can find right here on this channel, it really comes down to 3 specific steps, right? I mean, very basic steps, but build a plan, right? Have an end goal, have an achievement, and then begin taking actionable activities to reaching that. Once you do those 2 simple steps and you do them consistently, this is where the 7-day nervous system reset is so powerful. You then begin to gain confidence. That confidence helps make those strides on your self-healing journey a lot larger, right? Your 1% turn into 2% a day. And ultimately you start getting on this, all of us start getting on this course of just, almost kind of like bulldozing the fears, bulldozing the stuff we don't want in our life. And we genuinely start turning into, right, what we believe that we are. And
momentum takes over.
Yeah, momentum's huge, right? So I think ultimately that is possibly one of the biggest things to take away is, like, to get there, is the consistency and the discipline. And ultimately, that's why we start with very small steps inside the 7-day nervous system.
So before we finish up today's show, I want to share with you a quote/poem that I actually had written on the mirror in my bathroom when I first started my healing journey to remind me that I needed to continue to invest and I needed to continue to show up for myself. So I saw this every single day for the first 2 years of my healing journey when I finally started investing in myself. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would have never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance which no man could have ever dreamed would come his way. Whatever you do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. And so this just reminded me that once I committed to myself, once I committed to investing in myself, which by the way is the best investment you'll ever make in yourself because you are totally in control of the ROI on that investment. Your ROI is in direct proportion to how fully you show up and integrate and implement. And this reminded me that once I committed to myself, the universe would show up for me 10 times what I showed up for myself. And I have experienced this personally, and in every single client I have ever worked with who has shown up for themselves fully, they have gotten at least 10 times the amount of support and just manifestation. Money will show up out of nowhere for people. Opportunities will show up out of nowhere for people. But the first step is committing to you.
So, like you've heard us talk a little bit about in this episode today of the Life Coach Launch Show, we have this thing called the 7-day nervous system reset. We've had hundreds of people, well over 500 people here in just the last month or so, download this free resource here from the Life Coach Launch School that Tiff and I put together. Tiff, you want to give them a little bit of a breakdown of what it is and where they can get it?
Absolutely. So all you have to do to get it is go to the link in the description or this one coming up on the screen here for you. And what this is going to do is it's going to help you start to move your nervous system out of survival mode so that when you do leave the familiar zone or the comfort zone and you move into the panic zone, it feels less intense, it's less uncomfortable, and you have tools to help you lean in instead of backing away.
7 short days, 7 different exercises, all 15 minutes or less a day. It's all about gaining that consistency, building that discipline, and starting that self-healing journey. Again, I'm Super Sid. This is
Tiffany Toombs.
And this is the Life Coach Launch School show on the Life Coach Launch School channel. If you like this episode today, make sure to check out our other videos and ultimately subscribe down here below as we're putting in new videos every single week, every single day here on this channel to help more people start their self-healing. And ultimately, let's all remember, let's dare to heal so we can dare to lead and ultimately dare to make an impact. We'll see you in the next video.
Sweet.